So on Friday night, this was nice to see because we mentioned the two close games that they won in overtime, but they just blew out Quad City on Friday
and like
night.
we said, everybody who'd been struggling to score, Benny falls on his rear end from 30 feet and just kind of throws it on there. It's like a Larry Bird horse shot, and it goes in. You know, I mean, it bounced in off their defenseman's skate. It was great to see Leo get off Wednesday, and then he had all kinds of chances Friday, and he was really kind of disappointed he didn't get one. And then he's back to being Leo again. That's really big. And Bobby Chaumont scored yesterday as well.
And a Sunday shootout at home. They lose it to Wichita.
That was a great game, though.
Right. So you're talking about 7 out of 8 points, out of 8 possible points the Komets pick up this week to tie themselves with the Icemen. How big of a week is this? You mentioned the trap game on Tuesday at Dayton, but you get Evansville, who they don't exactly like all that well, coming into town on Friday and Saturday. So you can really set up this final stretch in the last 3 weeks.
Too, though. You could do more than that. If you can really dominate Evansville in the 2 games, you have got to be so far into their heads you could tickle, the back of it. I mean, because you're 7-4 against them already. If you can really dominate and play well, that's got to be in their head for 3 weeks down the road if they meet in the playoffs again. I mean, that is huge. That is more important almost than getting the points to pass them to make sure you finish first, just so you're stuck in their heads.
What is it about the Icemen and the Komets that is? It's not been a rivalry for long, but it is a pretty heated rivalry.
It is because you've got Rich Crom and you've got Todd Robinson and you've got Matt Jens and you've got all those former Muskegon guys who the Komets played really, really well against in the IHL days, and that's part of that too. The biggest thing with Evansville is their goaltending. They really blew up this week, really blew up. And the other thing about it is the Komets love putting Thorne, Risk, and Schrock out there against Todd Robinson's line with Bisek and O'Connor or whoever they've got out there with them. And they don't give Robinson any respect. They hit him. I mean, he's -5, I think, or -4 this season against the Komets. They've held him to 15 points in 11 games, which is really good considering he's the leading scorer in the league. But the whole key, again, to this series has been the power play and the special teams. Evansville has to score a lot on special teams. The goals so far in this series are 9-9 on special teams. That plays in the Komets' favor because they have better depth scoring-wise among all 3 lines, and on the defense. Defense is kind of a wash because Evansville's really good with Jens and McAway back there, and Plot has been really good offensively in the past too. But the 3 forward lines is a big advantage for the Komets, that they can get scoring from 3 lines, and that's been a factor. So if you can even out the power plays and the shorthanded goals with Bisek against Evansville, you can beat them 5-on-5. And that's what's happened so far.
You mentioned Benefield and Leo Thomas, but specifically Benefield, kind of getting that horse shot goal. Is this something that can get him started and get him charged? Because he came in with perhaps the best resume of the guys that the Komets added in the offseason. He's been hurt a little bit. But if you can get a sniper like him going, how good is that for the final week of this, or final 3 weeks of the regular season and then for the playoffs?
Well, let's look at it this way. You've got Leo and Bobby Chaumont and Jesse all in the same line. If you could get all 3 of them going, they had 7 points Friday night in Quad City. If you could just get 2 goals, every other game out of those 3 guys, that just takes all the pressure off of everybody. And then, maybe the power play relaxes a little bit and just plays, and they can get it going. I mean, it's a huge factor. It really is huge. Because then if you're the opposing coach, which team do you put your defensive line out against? Do you put it out against Chalk and Auger and Artie, or do you put it out against Bobby and Leo and Jesse? And then you're stuck.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a huge factor, especially in the playoffs where you're trying to match up so much.
And Auger and Chaumont have been fantastic. I mean, you look at the numbers, especially over the last week, they've really stepped up their game.
Well, and that's the other thing about Evansville is you look at what Artie and Auger have done against Evansville. They're drilling them. I mean, Chris has, I think, 9 goals in 10 games, and Artie's the Komets' leading scorer against Evansville, 15 points in 11 games. And then you got Brett Smith coming back Friday, and he's the 2nd leading scorer on the team against Evansville. That's a real huge boost right there, too.
All right, so a huge week of hockey, especially on Friday
no predictions
and Saturday.
This week.
No?
No predictions this week.
Well,
you got
it's too much into the air. You're freaked out about the Dayton game.
Well,
you're not even focusing on Evansville.
You just gotta, yeah, exactly, which is what they should be doing.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. First game first. Yes. You don't want to lose a game at Dayton because then it ruins the rest of your week no matter what. All right, he's Blake Sebring. We'll be back next week to talk about more Komets hockey, hopefully 3 wins, hopefully first place if they beat Evansville twice, but they've got to beat Dayton first. All right, thanks a lot, Blake. I'm Glenn. We'll see you next week.